想要听起来更有权威吗？被人家插话要怎么办呢？今天带给你8个技巧，让你写跟说都像有权威的主管。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast。I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. This episode is a shout out for all our younger listeners who want to appear more mature or more professional in front of their senior colleagues. I came across an article called 8 Communication Hacks I Use to Appear More Senior as a Young Employee. And this was written by someone who started out their career and is now going to Stanford Business School. A lot of the things that she noticed and that her senior colleagues taught her to do in order to come across as more professional, even though she was entering a very big company at a quite young age. And I thought this would be a good shout out because there's a lot of good tips here. There's things that even those of us who are more mature and have worked longer can learn from. So that's what we're going to share with you today.
And on top of that, I believe in the article, she also mentioned that she finds it very easy for women to just feel a little bit like too nice in the workplace. 所以有的时候女性啊，尤其是年轻的女性在职场上面会比较难感觉让人家听起来比较有权威。So I think all the tips today, not just for younger employees, but also for women, or maybe you have a softer voice, I think these are all very good tips to employ.
Let's kick it off with the first one. Speak slower than what feels natural. This is a great tip because a lot of young people who go into the workplace, they feel as though I don't get a lot of chances to talk. So if I talk, I just got to get all my ideas out there. But when you look at someone who is very experienced in the job, they don't try and cram all the information into a single sentence. Good communicators are usually very good at picking out what's important, but then speaking in a way where they can emphasize certain words, certain phrases, certain ideas. When you speak quickly, all that emphasis goes out the window and it just feels like a bullet train of information headed at your face.
Right. 有蛮多一些 situation 当中我会发现年轻尤其是稍微比较紧张的话你都会希望在很短的时间把你的 presentation 你的 pitch 好像全部都一定要把它讲出来所以讲话特别的快但是当你在讲速度很快的时候其实听的人听不到任何的重点只会觉得你是不是很紧張你可能花很多时间在准备这个 presentation 可是呢你讲不到这个的精髓So I think it's really important to understand emphasizing select words. Be really deliberate with what you want to select, what you want to emphasize. 然后当然这个时候我们也可以使用 pausing. 那这个也是我们常常在 advocate 的一个很好的一个技巧也就是当我们在做 presentation 的时候你有什么重点的话在重点之前我们就要好好的来做一个 pausing.The
second one may feel very controversial or may feel very uncomfortable, but it's really important, which is if someone interrupts you, you should interrupt the interrupter.
通常我觉得我们突然间的 reaction 都是等他 interrupt 完我再讲但是他这个作者他就讲了一个我觉得还蛮有趣的一个 tip 就是他就直接回应人家说 May I finish? Just interrupt the interrupter be like, let me finish. May I finish?
And that may seem very uncomfortable because people will feel like, oh my gosh, now I'm being rude. But a lot of times you may be getting to the point that you're getting interrupted on and immediately taking back that position is a way to sort of establish your authority. And just very simply, you don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to be like, may I finish? You can say it in a way that's like, please let me finish first, and then I'll let you get to your point. A really good example of this, I don't know if anyone in our podcast has listened to the All In podcast, which is one of the top podcasts in the US, but it's for very wealthy friends who get into a lot of debates. They're good friends, but they have a lot of different views on things. And they do this all the time. They will get into arguments in the podcast, and you will hear someone be like, may I finish? May I finish? They don't let the other people run over them with what they have to say. They complete their statement, and then they can debate the entirety of the thought. So this is something that, especially for younger colleagues, will feel very uncomfortable, but it is something necessary in order to establish your opinion, because if no one hears what you have to say, then they're also not going to take you seriously in other situations.
Definitely start to get comfortable. Interrupt the interrupter, right? Interrupting 人家本来就是不应该的事情, so it's really okay to interrupt them again. Just go, may I finish?
Number 3, explain the bigger picture. We talk a lot in the podcast about having a key idea, having a key theme, those 3 questions. What should someone know? What should they remember? What should they feel? This is all part of that bigger picture. The context of where you're trying to go with an idea, or the context of the goal you're trying to achieve, needs to be at the front.
Right.
So if you get into the details, you get into the weeds, people will think that you're just talking out loud. So you need to be able to say, here's the big picture, here's what we're going, here's what we're trying to achieve, and then get into your strategy.
I think that's a really good point. 一刚开始就讲了太多的 detail, 有的时候人家马上就分心了，或者是他们就想到其他事情了. So offering that really big picture in a very succinct way, I would say, concise, succinct way, 一两句先稍微带过一下，然后再去讲一些你所想 cover 的一些 detail. I think that's a really effective way to do.
The next one, avoid making statements that sound like questions. This is something that people are usually taught from the moment they enter an English class, which is when it comes to your intonation or the uptones, how do you make something sound like a question? But in the workplace, that anxiety or just general being self-conscious of your position comes across in your voice. And it sounds like young people are often asking a question. So with some of our younger coworkers, a lot of times I'll ask them that question. They'll say something and I'll be like, is that a question or a statement? Are you telling me this? Or are you asking me this?
When you feel uncertain or unsure about something, it's very natural to raise your intonation, even though it's supposed to be a statement, right? 就很像 by saying, avoid making statements sounds like a questions, 就有点像这样子的感觉。那其实我们之前讲到那个 Mid-Atlantic accent, 其实我们就有提到说，这个在 statement 后面你的 intonation 一定要往下是非常重要的。That's like a key thing to sound authoritative. So I think we talked about this many times. But I think it's really important to talk about it again, 因为我觉得反而是女生，以前我就在大学的时候我就做过一个自己在做一个实验啦。我就会到厕所，那你知道在厕所女孩子就喜欢聊天，然后呢我就会发现在厕所，因为你不知道她的脸，你也不知道长什么样子，但是常常呢只要有个女生讲话就是有点像这种 you know, they raise their intonation at the very end, 她们通常都是亚洲女生。Don't know why, but I had that observation. It's like, why? Why do we want to sound ditzy? I don't understand. 但是我觉得有可能是因为当我们女生在讲话的时候，我们想要听起来比较温柔或者是比较可爱，有可能就会习惯性的把我们的口音，我们的 intonation 就是往上扬。
Jumping into the next one is something we have talked about over and over again, which is provide structure by signposting. In fact, in a very recent episode, we talked about how to use sequences inside of your speech. It's important having that big picture and then using signposting to take people through your idea piece by piece. First, second, third, first, next, etc.
Yeah, when it comes to signposting, there's so many phrases, right? 比如说有像 summary 的 Let me do a quick recap.Here's the first point. That's the second point. 这个也算是一个 signposting. 或者你甚至想要跟对方，想要跟你的 audience 说，What's coming? It's extremely important. 这个也算是一个 signposting. 所有的 phrases 就是你要去跟人家提示说接下来会发生什么事情。这个都是我们所谓的 signposting phrases. We talked about this so many times, and we probably had a lot of example, and I will link them as many as possible.In this handout for you guys, 因为真的要一次讲完的话有点太长了 But using signposting phrases really allows you to sound way more concise and more authoritative.
The next one, something we've been talking about quite a bit recently, cut generic fluff in emails. They give a great example of an email that a high-level person in a company would write. Sounds good.When will the report be ready? Sign off. And the more CXO positions that I've talked to in big companies, yeah, this is pretty accurate to how they email. There's no, dear, my wonderful partner, how are you today? I hope it, they're usually just like, here's what I need. It's direct, but it's also not impolite. I don't ever get their email and be like, oh, how could they not take time to talk to me? There's a fine line between being formal and also embellishing too much. So in this case, they actually give the example of make the main part of the email directly what you want. And then if you want to build a little bit of relationship, you can put it after the main point. So then it still feels like, oh, they're thinking about me. They're not just demanding things, but I can open the email and immediately know what they need.
Yeah, and the example that she provided was that there's a little PS at the very bottom, like, oh, did you watch the World Cup or did you watch the game? I mean, that sounds really friendly, right? That's like a genuine warmth and genuine curiosity about someone else's life. So 我觉得其实有的时候我们也不太需要一定要用到kind regards or warm regards. 其实你只要简单的PS 问人家一个很好玩的问题，这个也其实它算是更有真实的感觉。
So number 7, replace exclamation marks with periods. The easy way to summarize this up, one paragraph, one exclamation point, or one email, one exclamation point. Not everything in that email is exciting. This is not a text message. Keep it minimized.
Yeah, I remember I did this for the premium, 就是现在1月的 premium content. 在课程当中我解析了一个 email. 那个 email 里面大概就有6-7个 exclamation marks. And it just looks so childish. It looks like a little girl or a little kid typing in an email. 真的是太多了. So like Nick said, 一个就好了。或者你甚至根本不用用到任何的 exclamation marks.
And the last one. There's a ton of studies on this. There's a lot of information you can look up. But it's very simply your body posture matters. Take physical space, which means people who are more relaxed, who are more confident, they just appear larger. So when you are tightened, you have your arms crossed, your legs crossed, and you turn into a little ball, you just seem either worried, defensive, or inexperienced. So loosen up, relax a little bit, take up a little bit more physical space. That will help people be like, oh, this person is here. They are present.
There was this one TED Talk video, even though it was kind of controversial, right?
Oh, Amy Cuddy.
Right. So she talked about being big. Open up your arms and like just go to the bathroom before any presentation. 然后你就是做那个动作会让你感觉比较 powerful. 那虽然那个 video 好像有一点 controversial, but 我觉得它整个意思来讲是当你要进入一个比较紧张的一个 situation, a meeting or a presentation, take a little bit of time and just let your body feel more relaxed and open up.
We hope that you can find something of use in these 8 tips. We will link the article in the show notes and also the TED Talk in the show notes, so you can check them out if you want a little bit more information about how to do the things we discussed in today's episode. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production. Produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.